Well, this week in the story, we're looking at two kings, focusing on chapters 17 to 20. And in these particular chapters, we meet a character called Hezekiah. And so he's the king of Judah, and they actually write down that he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. And after hearing everything across kings about king after king failing, it is so nice to read about a king who wants to do right by God. And in these particular chapters, we see that Assyria, they're coming and they're threatening to invade Judah. And so Hezekiah, what he does as soon as he hears about this threat is he goes straight to the temple and he prays. But what he also does, he sends his messengers to go tell a prophet called Isaiah to tell him, can you please also pray for our people, pray for what's going on. And Isaiah responds and he simply says, do not be afraid. And as I read this, the first thing I really notice is the fact that there is so much value in asking people to come into your situations, asking people to pray for whatever you're experiencing at the moment, asking people to journey with you, asking people to encourage you, just like Isaiah was for Hezekiah, saying, do not be afraid, and I will be praying for you too. And so next, we see Hezekiah. He actually receives a letter from Assyria now, threatening they are actually going to come and invade. And so his response, just like he did in the first threat, he goes straight to the temple. But what he does, he spreads that letter that he received from Assyria and he prays over it. He spells it all out for God. He says, this is the plan for that Assyria wants to do. Can you please save our people? But what he does say, he says this line, do this so that all the kingdoms may know that you are God alone. A powerful prayer and a really good character trait from Hezekiah, because he was praying not about for his own desire and his will, but he was praying so that God would be known. A great encouragement as we pray. And so what happens is his prayers are answered. The Assyrians eventually, they retreat and we see a miracle being performed. And so what I learned from this particular prayer and the prayer before, and habit and this consistency that you see with Hezekiah, is that if there's any type of hardship, the first thing Hezekiah does is he prays. And see, the other thing he does, the prayer isn't about his own desire, it's about the fact that he wants God to be known out of the situation that he's in. A great reminder again today. And so what happens next in the story after Assyria retreats? Hezekiah eventually, he becomes ill. Isaiah actually says to him that Hezekiah will actually die. And so again, his first response is he turns and he prays. And for Hezekiah, he sees a miracle, his illness is healed, and a really powerful story about the miracles that God performs. And in Isaiah 38 to 9 to 20, we actually get to read that prayer. And there is so much, like we've already learnt from Hezekiah, so much to learn from this particular prayer. The first is that he is so real and raw with God. What he starts off in his prayer, he explains all the pain and the suffering that he was going through, one being ill, but also knowing that death was actually coming closer and closer for him. He then goes in and he just gives thanks to God for the healing that has happened. And the last thing he also does is he highlights the importance that he wants to go away and share his miracles with the next generations. A powerful reminder. And so my encouragement from this particular part of the story is the power of sharing our story. And so we need to just continue to share the story about how God has done the miracles, done the impossible things that are in our life. There is power in you sharing your story. And on Monday night, we had our monthly prayer night called Encounter. And so I just encourage you, it's such a great night. It's an hour out of your month where you come and pray and be with other people. It's currently on Zoom, so check that out in our newsletter on Facebook. But it's just a great night of coming together and praying. And we spent this night on Monday. Mark led us through it. We spent the night sharing the miracles that God had done in each of our lives. And Mark's encouragement for us that night was to continue to believe that God could do these miracles again. And there was so much power in hearing story after story after story about God performing the miracles in people's lives, from the big things to the little things. And so this is such an encouragement. And I want to just acknowledge that there's actually this wrestle we often have with God as well. Where yes, it's so great and we celebrate when those miracles happens, but when our prayers aren't answered, it is such a wrestle with God. And I've experienced that myself, and I just encourage you, if you're in that season at the moment, to come and ask myself or Mark or Kim or one of the other members of our team to just work through that particular situation. It is tough, but we're here to journey that with you through those particular things. And so when we wrap up what this story is all about, when we look at Hezekiah, this is my encouragement about his particular life, his particular story, and what we can hold on to in this particular season, but also seasons that will come in the future. The first is pray. Always pray first. Come to God. Give him thanks for those miracles, for those great times in your life, the good seasons, but also come to God in your pain as well. Be real, be raw, let it all out, just like Hezekiah did when he was ill, and just like Hezekiah did when he received that letter. It's so important that you come to God and be real with him. So always pray first in the good and the bad. And the next, you do not need to do this alone. Don't do it alone. It's so important to invite somebody else or multiple people into your situation. There is so much power in seeking out somebody who is wise to speak into your life. So Hezekiah, for him, it was the prophet Isaiah. He prayed for him, he encouraged him, he spurred him on in all of these different situations. And it's so important for us to keep seeking other people that can help in our lives. And the last is to share your story. There is power in your story about God, how God is doing a work in your life, in both the miracles, but in the heartache as well. We have so much to learn from each other about the experiences that we have been through. And so I just encourage you to share your story with other people, because there's power in what you've gone through, and that will have great impact on people around you as well. And so my final thing I just want to say and encourage you this week is to keep praying, keep believing that God will do the miracles that you want in your life and the life of those people around you. And I'll be praying for you, and our community will be praying for you too. May we be people that will pray first, be asking people to come into our lives to help us out, and that we will just keep sharing our story. Bless you guys.